Sharath runs an Airbnb in Goa from Bangalore, and he built a Claude Code skill that does the entire bookkeeping for him. We watch it run live, pull data from his Airbnb calendar, from his Gmail, WhatsApp exports, and every mismatch was flagged in clear yellow. He shows us how it caught two missed bookings by his property manager. There's a clean dashboard made of his monthly occupancy, and there is a channel wise breakdown it shows us of the booking. All of this was done by Sharath without writing a single line of code. By the end of this episode, you will be able to set up the same system for your own Airbnb.
Hey Sharath, thank you so much for joining us. So you set up Claude Code to manage accounts for your Airbnb. How long did you go without actually feeling the need to do this?
Okay, so in terms of need to do it, I felt the need to do it from probably the first month of running the place because I would get all these booking messages, which were good on a day-to-day basis, but it was very hard to understand what is happening. Am I actually getting everything I'm supposed to get in a month and all that? And I just kept thinking, okay, I have to sit down and log all this into a spreadsheet, but it was just too much, right? It's like every day a new message comes on different channels. So sitting and doing it on a day-to-day basis was just impossible. So then my only other option was to wait for the property manager to send something. But even that wouldn't really solve the problem because I wanted to make sure it's all running correctly and they're also, giving me the money I'm supposed to get. So it is meant to be more of my check. They will of course do it from their end, but I have to verify, make sure it's running properly. So I felt the need from the start, just didn't have a way to do it in the beginning.
Yeah. You're right. See, I also have a Airbnb property, and we do a statement thing at least on a monthly basis. But what was really wrong in that reporting from your Airbnb manager?
So first thing wrong was probably something more in their hands was that they wouldn't send it on time. It is very delayed. I only got it once so far. They said they are setting up their accounts team and all that. The other thing was, even when I got it, now how do I make sure this is correct? Because they have entries, but I don't have a easy way to check if they have covered everything. Because they will have bookings from Airbnb, booking.com, offline and everything. They've made a statement and I just have to assume that is right. Which I think is what a lot of people generally do, right? You just look through it, it looks clean and okay, It looks good. But I wanted to make sure it's all accounted for correctly because I'm also not in town. It's in Goa, I'm in Bangalore. So yeah.
But see, an existing app would solve this, right? Like, why do you need to set up a separate system altogether?
I did not find any existing app. I was looking for it. I'm sure there are like apps to manage your property or something, but I don't think it is built for this, for a small like host, right, with one property. I'm sure you'll have something to manage like a hotel or a resort or something like that, right? An Airbnb will have its own reporting. Booking.com will have its own reporting, but they're all building it so that everybody stays on their platform. It's not built for multi-channel booking. The best they would do is, okay, if you have a booking on some other channel, you can automatically block your calendar here and make it unavailable. Beyond that, I actually can't even find a way to export data, right? There's no simple way to export an Excel or something like that, So it's a very rudimentary platform in terms of analytics that you get.
Oh, interesting. Because I was just about to ask, did you try excelling your way out of this, right? So, but if an export is not possible, then you can't take it to spreadsheets either. Okay. That's a tough problem.
Even if I get an export, like say, for example, in Airbnb, like I am set up as a co-host. My property manager is the primary host. So I can see bookings. I think if you do the revenue sharing and all and payments through Airbnb, I might get earnings report. I don't know if there you get an Excel. But even if you get that Excel, I will still have that same problem because that's only Airbnb. Booking.com is there, offline is there. There are multiple channels and then again you have to reconcile. Basically, you have to sit and do a lot of manual work to make any kind of spreadsheet and tally it. That was the problem and I didn't have the time to do it.
Okay. So as a host myself, very curious to see how you've done this.
So I can just quickly start by showing you what information I currently get. This is the standard data set that I get, right? So we are in a WhatsApp group with the property manager. Every time they get a booking, they will send me a WhatsApp message with that booking detail. And the same thing, if it is coming from Airbnb, I will get an email like this, new booking confirmed, and it has information like the rate, host payout, and all that. But the reason they send me these WhatsApp messages is because instead of Airbnb, if it's booking.com, or sometimes they get offline bookings, same thing. Instead of source as Airbnb, it will be written as offline booking with the person who got the booking, or it'll say booking.com and all that. And ideally, these should match. If it's Airbnb, it should be the exact same amount and dates and everything. But this is essentially what I get. Like, two main data sources. There is also one more thing. I have a iCal which I can get from Airbnb. It's a very basic calendar sort of sync where it just shows me what dates are blocked. So if I put that into my calendar or something, I can see that, okay, 22nd to 24th is blocked. It doesn't give me all the information I get here, but there is a quick way to see booking, like, okay, this date is empty, this date is not empty. Okay. So that's essentially what I get. And then I made a schematic. This is how the skill is working. So it takes the Airbnb calendar feed, so that it uses as a source to understand. So the reason I did this is Airbnb is our main channel. 80 to 90% of bookings happen through there. So even if they take a booking through something else, they have to block it on Airbnb. So it is at least a good source of information for which date is actually blocked or available. And so that's the first entry it considers. And then it will look at Gmail, because all the Airbnb bookings will have Gmail messages there. And then the remaining ones, right? Like, so what is going to happen is you have the Airbnb iCal, which might say 25 days are booked or blocked, right? Only 5 days are available. Gmail messages will show 20 out of those have entries. So the skill will look at both and say, okay, now there are 5 days left, right? 5 days are unaccounted for. For that, I give it a WhatsApp export. It's pretty simple. I thought about connecting something like OpenClaw or something like that. But right now, all I do is once a month or so, I export that chat, just a text file, which will have all those messages. And it knows the pattern to look for, that the booking messages typically have, check-in date, all that. So based on that, it will find all those entries, compare it to iCal and Gmail, fill up the missing entries, right? And then it will also look at the current Excel tracker. So I might have run it last month. So it will just compare with that to make sure there's no duplicates. The same dates are not getting double counted or something. And then it just basically updates the Excel tracker. It will flag any issues that it sees, that, okay, this date something is off, or the booking amount is not matching what is showing in Airbnb and things like that. And then I get the final sort of output. So should I run the skill and show you? Like, what should I?
Yes, I'm very curious. You've mentioned how you handle most of the reconciliation, right? For example, if you have same booking, different details in Gmail, WhatsApp, if there is a conflict, I'm guessing you've shown us how you're handling it. We would love to see this in action.
So all of this is run through Claude Code, and I have not tried running it through anything else. And it was built pretty iteratively. Initially, I had some of these issues, like you said, that it's conflicting data from two sources. So I kept refining it so that it knows which source to look at first as a source of truth and all that. I'll just launch my Claude. So what I did is, because this has booking data with people's names and all, right? So I just packaged up a demo version of the same skill. So Goa Airbnb is my actual skill. Now I'll run demo. Okay. So I'm just going to do this. I'm not giving it a WhatsApp export right now, but so this is the demo version. That's why it's showing these things.
So now you loaded up the skill. That's what you've done.
So basically the / command runs the skill. Normally I run Goa Airbnb. This is just a demo version to anonymize data and all that. But it is actually looking at real data. So what this demo skill is doing is, before it creates the Excel, it will just change the names to fictional Indian names and fictional phone numbers and all that. So yeah, let's look at this. 48 unique names found. Now it is going to look at the Excel.
So when the skill loaded up, where did it get the data from? Do you have a dummy data present?
So the first thing it looked at is just the Excel, like, the current version of the Excel. So it's not working with dummy data. So the demo skill is actually running on the real data itself. It is just that before it prints the output, it will anonymize it and give us it. So demo copy created with 47 guess anonymized, right? So now it will look at the current state of the demo tracker. So tracker has 47 bookings logged. Last check-in is March 31st. So this is basically when I last ran it. Since then I've been traveling and also I have not done it. Like I reconciled March. Now I have to actually do it for April. So, and you can see right now it says fetching iCal calendars. That's like the first step in the process. So it is connected to my Gmail and Google Calendar and all. And I've given it the iCal link directly. So doesn't really need to log into Airbnb. It will just pull that link and it's just retrieving.
So that's the caveat here, I'm guessing, that it has to have access to your accounts that are linked to your Gmail.
It'll need Gmail for sure. Airbnb doesn't have a way to log in. It is just pulling this from my local keychain. Right? The iCal, the calendar link itself is saved there just for security instead of putting it in plain text. But yeah, Gmail it needs.
So for Gmail itself, can you scope it to just look at your Airbnb emails and not read other emails?
Unfortunately, no, because that connector just works as a, you either give it access to your Gmail or not. You can ask it to only process the following or search for the following, but the access itself can't be scoped. Otherwise, what you can do is you set up like a separate email account, and in your Airbnb, you basically, put that as the email and only have Airbnb emails there.
Yeah, and also just to give a little bit more context for the audience, maybe you can explain what skill is and how you've gone about creating the specific skill.
Yeah, so a skill is basically a pre-packaged set of instructions, right? So the first time I did this, it wasn't a skill. I told Claude Code that this is my problem. I have this data here, I'm trying to reconcile it, right? So first time it is just basically I'm like any AI chat, I'm like talking to it, building it. Once I did it, I said, okay, now I want to do this on a recurring basis, right? And I don't want to do this entire figuring out process each time. So then I ask it to package it up as a skill, and Claude will only do it. I don't have to do it. Just that once it does it, next time when I run it, some of these problems might happen, like Gautam was asking earlier, right? If there is a conflict between Gmail and WhatsApp data, what should it do? So it takes a few runs. So first time I ran it, there were some of these conflicts, and then it said, okay, there is a mismatch. I said, okay, in these cases, you should actually use the Airbnb data as the email should be your first preference because that is automated. WhatsApp is what they are sending. So use that as a source, not this as the primary source. And then you just ask it to update that skill, right? So the skill is just like this living thing. So all the stuff you can see running now, right? It just knows all of it. Whatever you learned, it gets packaged into the skill. And anytime you need to invoke the skill, it's a slash command. You just write slash and you get all your skills and you just run it.
Yeah. And this is taking quite a bit of time to run it, right? Like, so typically how long does this take?
It'll take around like 5 to 10 minutes. Sometimes you need to give permissions and all in between. I've thought of automating it further so that it's like a daily run or something. But so far, I've not found utility for it because it's a reconciliation process, right? So I also want to make sure if there's a problem, it'll actually tell me there is a problem and I will look at it and all that.
Yeah. So typically you run it on a monthly basis or?
Yeah, end of month, basically I just, because what happens is if you run it very regularly, somebody might make a booking and they might cancel that booking. So you need to take care of that also. So every day doesn't actually make sense. So the property manager also sends me the booking details when somebody is, if they're checking in tomorrow or today, that's when they send me the information. So what I do is after a month ends, I just run it for the month that was over. So that way there's no confusion. There's no cancellation that will come in or something. So now if I run it, I'll probably ask it to only do it for April, no, or maybe till May 15th, not till today.
So, is there any scenario where there is no digital trail that you can run through Claude for any booking? For example, like you said, when there is an offline booking, you need to block Airbnb.
Correct. Yeah.
So, is there any scenario where you can't? I mean, there is a missing booking.
That is exactly what I'm worried about, right? So I want to make sure that if there is an offline booking which is not getting tallied up anywhere else, I have to like find it and ask them about it. So typically it will not happen, because what will happen is if they take an offline booking and if they don't block that date on Airbnb, another person will block, and then they'll have two people coming on the same day, which is a problem for them to handle. So that's why my assumption is that the Airbnb iCal is always going to be accurate, at least in terms of whether a day is blocked or not. If there is a block there and there is no detail, that's when I check, and I found some of those, and I ended up asking them, hey, these 2 days I did not get any WhatsApp message, right? And there's no Airbnb booking also. So it came in handy a couple of times.
I think what's being called for is an Airbnb MCP server, right? That should simplify this.
Does not exist. At least the last time I ran this, it did not exist. But if it is there, it would definitely make life a lot easier. So yeah, I think the skill has finished running. So if you can see it's already sort of flagging conflicts, right? It's anonymized, but look at this guest. So it looks like there are multiple, bookings on the same dates. Like first one is 15th to 18th, and then there is so sometimes it might, so it's also found a likely reason, right? Likely reason is probably that the first one, which was 3 days, cancelled, and then they ended up taking bookings for those dates in pieces. So I just need to check and verify. It's more of okay, I'll also take a look, see if it's correct, and go back to it.
So it's not a full automation. It's basically a very clever human in the loop.
It's like my own accountant. Just like you have an accountant who will tell you, hey, I looked at all this data. There's a couple of places you should check or ask them. It'll do that. But as far as possible, whenever it's clean, it just fills it up.
I'm sure there are several people who's looking forward to using this skill. Do you have any plans to open source it? What is on your mind?
I honestly don't know. I have one friend in Goa. So she was saying that, okay, she needs this. So yeah, no plans right now, but if there's interest, why not?
And typically, how many issues do you have you encountered in the past as points of contention where you had to take a look at it and make a judgment?
Actually, surprisingly low, which was also a good outcome for me, because my biggest worry was, okay, I've started working in this property management service. How do I know if they're doing it correctly, right? It looks legit, but are they taking offline bookings and not logging it? So once I ran through the whole process, I found 2 entries they missed. But given the number of entries over months, I felt like those are honest mistakes. I think one was an offline booking extension. Somebody was staying there and they asked for a 1 or 2 day more thing, which somehow when somebody sent it, it got missed. And one was genuinely missing. But that was also, I think it was on Airbnb. So I think that WhatsApp message just didn't get sent. So generally, I felt good about the fact that they are actually doing it correctly, except for these genuine mistakes. And then there was another point where I got a little confused about the tax deduction, right? So our contract said a certain thing about how we would divide revenue, gross or after tax, before tax or something. But then there was some tax deduction which Airbnb takes before this thing. So technically it didn't match with my contract. I actually asked Claude to analyze my contract also. But then after a lot of analysis, we as in me and Claude said, okay, this seems fair. Actually, anyway, that's tax which will have to go. It was more of an oversight in how the contract was written. People are not writing it with bulletproof language or something, right? So I left it. But again, now people at their end will change. They might have another person taking the booking. So I'd like to keep running this, make sure they also know that I'm checking and all that.
So as a host, the biggest payback for you, I guess, more than time or anything, is just peace of mind that,
Absolutely. Peace of mind and data. Now I have good data. So now I have very good clean data with monthly occupancy rate, monthly, what's the average booking amount per day, how is that varying across months and all that. So peace of mind, yes, but also good data to see if, okay, was this actually a good investment choice, right? Because a lot of people will tell you, hey, why did you do that? You should have put money in the market or something like that. Now I actually have data to look at it and say, oh, actually I did pretty good, right? So far it looks good. So peace of mind and the right ROI calculations is what I'm getting out of it.
Yeah, you don't have to like speculate or like make a
Correct.
feelings-based judgment. You can actually look at data and say, hey, here is how my property is actually performing.
And what I've realized is when I've talked to other people who do hosting and all, right, most of the time people are doing it with gut feel. They have some data, but they don't have exact data to say, oh, I'm getting 12% return or 13% return, right? It's like, okay, it looking good. So they will have partial data. My occupancy is 85%. On average, I think I'm getting like so much, 4,000, 5,000 rupees per night. So they have calculations like this, but nobody will tell you this is exactly how much I earned every month. And now what I can do is, this has just started. Like I started this Airbnb in November and December. Now, as you keep doing this over the years, you can start seeing, okay, there's a theoretical season and off season, but what is actually happening for your property is something to figure out, right?
100%. For my property is February.
February. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just so I was talking to somebody who kept telling me that this is all, if it's doing well, it is because it is in season. It will not do well outside of it. I mean, I don't have a full year's data to really tell, but if you look at this, you'll get a sense of it. So this is all built by Claude,
Yes,
right? Not a
yes.
single line or column was built by hand. So, it's just anonymized it. And whenever there is some potential issue, it just marks it in yellow with a comment. See, not posted in WhatsApp, but found via Airbnb calendar. These are some of the typical honest mistakes, like active, but somewhere cancellation was marked or something like that. Not posted in WhatsApp. Usually it is. So what I found earlier is that they still have it in their account statement in most cases. That WhatsApp message is manual. So one person goes on leave, another person comes. Sometimes those get missed. So this is the full tracker. And then if I go to monthly summary, I've asked this to also anonymize some of the numbers, so it's not my exact financials, but roughly. So they send me a certain amount every month as a guarantee, and then beyond that is a revenue share, right? So the system will keep its written formulas and all for that. That okay, they've paid me this much. What is the gap? Like how much more am I supposed to get? Or sometimes it might be lower. So it looks like March was lower. March was basically close to my minimum guarantee. I didn't get a lot more, but overall I'll get a sense of how much have they paid, how much am I supposed to get, and then I can ask them. So last time I went to Goa, beginning of April,
Right.
like I just basically spoke to them, made sure everything is correct, balanced and all that. And then I have this dashboard. This is the part where I get the most insights. The first is all bookkeeping. So I have monthly performance.
So this Excel creation is baked into the skill, right?
Yeah.
And the dashboard and everything else.
It updates it also. So the same Excel, second time you run the skill, it will go, and next time I run it, it will fill it for June or July or whatever. Right? So I can see so if you see the average rate per night is going down from December, which makes sense, right? It was season then, but now it started to pick up. May has been slightly better. Channel breakdown, which channels, like, Airbnb is like 80%. Total night sold, occupancy rate 75%. There's also average booking, how many days of booking or something, somewhere it is there. Then charts. So without this, I just wouldn't do this, right? Like I would have loved to get this data, but there's no way I would do it without this system in place.
Right. I'm sure there are several people who are watching this who desperately want this kind of a dashboard showcase, handed out to them, because my sense is that most people would appreciate getting this, but since they're nowhere close to getting it, they just let go and they're like, it's all working fine, but they don't have actual numbers telling them that, hey, it's actually your property is actually making good ROI, or
yes,
this can also drive investment decisions, right? Okay, I'm getting so much, it makes sense to invest, or this particular investment is justified.
Exactly.
Sharath, I personally think that there would be several people like really looking forward to getting their hands on the skill. So I'm really looking forward to you putting this out there in whatever form
Yeah.
that works for you, and
Yeah,
a lot of people
I
using
would
it.
want it now.
So would you want the Claude Code version or the hypothetical with the GUI built version?
Claude Code is fine. I mean, the other thing would be accessible for a lot more people,
Correct.
but then for my personal use case, Claude Code would itself make a big difference.
Yeah, I can package it. So how much of this is similar to what you have as a problem statement, or is some of this very different from how you get data and all that?
I have the same problem. He just said I don't even bother to look at the statements.
Correct. Yeah. So that was actually one big learning for me for different AI automations, right? A lot of people ask about how much time is it saving, right? Actually, a lot of the times it's not about how much time is it saving. It's a very binary thing. Do you do it or not? Like till I had the system, there was no system, right? Like it's not like I had an inferior system to compare it to. I just had no system. I was like, okay, I get 30 messages. It looks good. I hope it's right.
There is a reconciliation, but it is nowhere as sophisticated as this. Plus, for me, with my property manager, there is not much of an issue where nothing gets logged in. I don't have that worry. That's for a very personal reason, because it's been a neighbor and all sorts of things. But beyond that, there is no system as such which is robust like this.
So with my property manager, honestly, because I ran this a few times, now I have more trust. But I still want to run it because it's not only about, making sure they're doing it right. Like it's sometimes they make mistakes, and also data, right? I'm very curious to know how is it trending. Also, you can also tell them, right? They have their views on what should be the monthly rate and all that. But now I can also look at some of this data and say, okay, maybe over time you see when the rates were lower or higher, what has happened in the occupancy rate and all that. Right? So I'm also thinking of maybe if there's a way to layer on more information, what's the average rates in that area or something like that. Some of that is a little hard to get, but I heard from a few people that would be very useful. What do other people in the neighborhood get? Because right now it's purely based on Airbnb gives you some suggestions, right? But that might not be the most accurate for your exact area. It might be, maybe it works for Goa or for that city or something like that.
Okay, thank you, Sharath, for taking our viewers through this very, very helpful and very useful demo. I think they're all looking forward to when this is gonna get their hands on doing playing around with this.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.